You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 311.4, the Combat Sports Report with Hanson Crafton, Hanson's reaction to UFC 317, and a strong performance by Deontay Wilder.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, fight fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report and the Combat Sports Report with Hanson Crafton. We're here to review UFC 317 and a boxing match on Saturday that got my interest. Welcome, Hanson. Let's start with Deontay Wilder. I thought he looked pretty good.
He looked okay. He was, like we talked about before going into it, the level of opponent probably wasn't what he will see if he wants to continue his run, if he even thinks about going for a world title. The power still there. He hurt the guy several times, ended up taking him out in the seventh. So the power's still there. And, like we said, technique-wise, it kind of, that's just how he is.
His jab looked pretty good, Hanson. It snapped, especially early in the fight. Later, he got sloppy. Later in the fight, he was really sloppy. But early in the fight,
the knockout.
Yeah, he was, for sure. But early in the fight, that jab looked good. It looked, at 6'7", that can be really efficient. And, Herndon, I don't think he could ever get in range to ever even threaten Deontay, which is a good sign of some pretty good skills. Of course not. We've talked about that before. But Herndon's had 24 wins, and that dude just refused to go down. So that was a really good fight for Wilder to have.
Confidence builder. It seemed like Herndon, like you said, with the jab, he kept running into the jab, and it seemed like he kind of just got a little shell-shocked, I'd say. It seemed like he just really didn't know what to do.
He really tried.
Went on defense.
He tried a couple of times to go on offense, and every time he did, he ran into that jab. And I thought Wilder had some really good combinations, which we hadn't really seen. He's been kind of a one-shot guy. And I saw two or three.
Exactly.
He tried to... And at the end of the fight, his combinations looked ugly. But he did try to put together some combinations that we hadn't really seen before.
Yeah, no, that was the biggest difference I saw. He's normally, early in his career, he was a good jab fighter, so it was nice to see him going back to using that jab.
Yeah.
But the combinations was something that you rarely have seen out of Wilder, and I think that he was probably trying to work on that. This was an opponent where he could go in there and maybe work on some things with some live rounds. So I think he was working on that, but then I think as the fight went on, I think he started really chasing the knockout. I could feel like after
that's exactly what happened.
Sixth round.
Yeah,
it seemed like he was really trying to chase the knockout.
Seemed frustrated by it.
Showed up. Yeah. He did. I think Herndon was a lot tougher than he expected him to be.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, Herndon was kind of, after the first couple of rounds, it seemed like he was kind of fighting to not get knocked out.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was necessarily that. I felt like he just never could quite figure out how to attack him. Everything he tried failed.
Yeah, he just couldn't get in.
Yeah, everything he tried failed.
And couldn't get anything going.
And he was just being, and of course, and Wilder, the thing was Wilder, as he's always done, which is what's made him a good fighter, was chasing him down the whole fight, not letting him set up and get anything going. That's what we've all loved about Deontay Wilder, is that he just will stalk you. Even if you're beating him, he will stalk you.
And that was good to see, because his last couple fights, that's what's been missing. He hasn't really been the Wilder on the front foot. He's kind of laid back, seemed like kind of hesitant to throw punches. So it was good to see him chasing again, because he has been notoriously good for putting a big pressure on whoever he's fighting.
Is he a contender? I don't really think so. But again, there's nobody great out there. The champion right now, he's awfully good. I wouldn't call him a great. I wouldn't say that Usyk is invulnerable to a Wilder hook. It's not impossible.
Yeah, I think he's still got some big fights. Wilder does. He's got some money fights out there. I think they're really going to go after the Joshua fight now.
That'd be a good one.
I think,
love to see it.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to cash in on a couple more big fights, and then maybe he rides off in the sunset, or maybe he does chase that title again.
Let's talk about 317, Hanson, because Ilia Tapuria, what a performance.
I mean, it was kind of what I was expecting out of the kid. I mean, he's very good. He's very confident. That's one thing I really
He
like
called
about
it.
him. I mean, if you just see him, he drips confidence. I mean, he was on a podcast somewhere and he's talking and his wife's driving. She's in the driver's seat. And the guy asking the questions, he's like, hey, to the wife, he's like, hey, does it make you nervous when he fights? She's like, I'm only nervous for the other guy or something like that. Pretty much just like her confidence. She gets the same confidence he does. I mean, he's very confident. I mean, if you just look at this run he's been on, I mean, he's beat some of the three best fighters in UFC history back to back to back. He's knocked out two guys who don't get knocked out like that. Like Charles is a guy who does take some punishment, but he's never been finished in that fashion. He's always been able to get up, and even he's had fights where he's been knocked down the first round and came back and won in the second or third round. So to see him do that, I mean, it was just super impressive. I mean, Tapuria's got great boxing, and he's got great power. I mean, for a smaller guy, he really sits down well on his punches, especially his right hand. And, I mean, he throws a missile when he throws it, and there's a lot of guys
It was a missile.
he hits with that, they're just going to go down. I mean, it's just how he is. He's gonna stop a lot of guys. He's still young, so he's going to have a pretty long reign, I feel like. Now, it's still going to be interesting to see how he does against a top-tier great wrestler. But, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him.
Who are you looking at?
He's, like I said, his confidence just shines.
Who are you looking at for him next?
It's going to be one of three guys. He'll probably fight either Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett, or Armand Tsarukyan. And Tsarukyan was the number one contender going 2 fights ago. He was in a weight cut and hurt his back somehow cutting weight, so he missed the fight. So I know Dana punished him a little bit, but he could be next. Could be Paddy. They've got like a history together. They've had issues. They've had a run-in before. That would be a fight that would sell based off of that. Paddy's got a huge fan base coming out of the UK as well. It could be that, or it could be Justin Gaethje, a guy who's been around a little bit but kind of earned the title shot. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. But, I mean, I think he'd be the favorite against all three of those guys.
Yeah, looks like he might be the cream of the lightweight crop for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's still young too, so he's going to improve. They say he works really hard, and you could tell in his fights. I mean, he's looked good. I mean, his last 3 fights, I would put him up. I would put that run up there with anybody else in mixed martial arts history. I mean, to knock out Volkanovski, Max Holloway, and then Charles Oliveira the way he has, I mean, that's pretty special.
Yeah, the MMA world is buzzing for sure this weekend over Tapuria because you can see that that guy's different.
Oh, I mean, it was a great night of fights. It was one of the best cards they've had in a long time. I mean, you had the Pantoja fight was good, and then the fight before that when you had Brandon Royval and Josh Van. I mean, that was one of the best fights of the year, maybe best fights of the last couple of years. It was just an absolute war for 3 rounds. Both of them, I think the stat came out yesterday that it was the most significant strikes in a 3-round fight. Each fighter landed over 200 significant strikes. For those out there, that is any punch that's not a jab. So that's all your hooks, hard punches. And, I mean, it was just a fun fight. I mean, I was watching that fight, and as soon as it was over, I had people texting me all over the place. Even my sister, who's gotten into mixed martial arts, just text me talking about what a great fight that was. Oh, it was outstanding. I mean, like, I probably stood up at home and clapped for those guys. It was just one of those fights where it was both of them put it on the line, especially, Royval had the number one contender spot locked up. His fight that he was supposed to have with Manuel Cape dropped out. You get Van coming in on 3 weeks' notice. He's the 12th ranked guy in the division. And that's a fight, it was a dangerous fight, Royval. He takes it, no problem, gets in there, stands up with him the whole time. And Van just had excellent boxing, excellent conditioning. He really, his adjustments he made during the fight, like the first round, Royval was using his legs really well and his reach because he had a big reach over him. But by the second round, he kind of adjusted to it. Third round, Van's throwing kicks now, so he's kind of taking his legs out, and then he's able to land better punches because of that. I mean, it was just a really great fight. Josh Van ended up winning the decision, so he's next in line for Pantoja for the belt. That's going to be a fun fight. I mean, I don't know how the kid was ranked 11th or 12th or whatever he was ranked going into it. You're not going to find 10 better guys in the 125-pound division than Joshua Van. I mean, he was outstanding. He looked really good. And Pantoja is Pantoja. He's dominant. I expected him to kind of win by submission. And
he's a really good hugger, Hanson.
Well, he's well rounded. I mean,
Yeah,
he was fighting.
but he really hugged Kai Kara France into submission. I'm just messing with you, as we used to talk about. Going to the ground is not my favorite part of the fighting, but man, he was awfully impressive. Pantoja, complete domination.
He's good. He's well rounded. So, like, he kind of gashed himself a little bit. You could tell at the end of the second round, but he came back out in the third. He uses that break and he's back on. But he comes out just vicious right away.
Yeah.
I mean, the first round he came out storming with leg kicks and then took him down and almost choked him out then. And then in the second round he did the same thing. He starts really fast with the striking, and then he tries to get you to the ground to use his submission game. And I mean, his strategy was good.
And then holds on.
Those guys, even at 35.
And then he holds on. The last minute or so, you can see things start to change, but he's really good at being able to hold on even when he is a little distressed.
Yeah, he position his power. He'll get to a dominant position. He can sit there and kind of get his wind back. And then, like I said, he starts the third round heavy again. He really comes out fast. And he just kind of wears on guys. Pantoja's one of those guys, even at 35, he seems to be getting better every time you see him out there. So it's really exciting. I'd be interested what the odds look like when those two fight. Van on the feet, I think Van has the advantage, but I don't know how Van will be able to handle the ground game of Pantoja.
What's the typical time between fights for a championship-level fighter, Hanson?
Depends on who it is, how fast they get the win. A lot of times, some of these guys, just like boxers, some of them, they like to fight once or twice a year. But then you get some guys who want to fight every 3-4 months. So it really just depends. Pantoja's been a fairly active champion. I mean, like I said, Van just took a fight on 3 weeks' notice. So you could probably see that one turn around pretty quick.
And I know you like Payton Talbott. Your thought of him and a bantamweight win over Lima?
Looked great. I was really interested to see how he responded coming off his loss. It seemed like he was kind of stage fright in his last fight. He got a pressure of pace put on him. The guy was kind of wrestling good. And then he turned around, and he had great wrestling this fight. So it looked like he learned from his mistakes. He corrected them all. And I think he's right back on track like he was just a few fights ago as one of the top prospects in the sport. He's probably 2 fights away from maybe a title shot. It just depends on where he goes, who he fights. But he's definitely coming. But he looks well-rounded. Like I said, he really improved his wrestling from the last fight to this fight. And the guy he was fighting was no slouch. I mean, Lima was
I think he even out-wrestled Lima, didn't he? That wasn't expected.
Yes. No, not at all. I mean, it was, Lima kind of got the takedown early in the first round, and it kind of looked like maybe, Talbot just has an issue with good wrestlers. But then he's in great shape. That's something that always fares well for these guys. If you're in good shape, you can handle some stuff because you could keep pace on. And, and Lima probably slowed down a hair and Talbot didn't. And then he just turned the fight over then and won the last 2 rounds pretty convincingly.
People don't think about this, but from the first punch, you're fatigued in a fight. If you're not in shape, you have no chance. We've seen that in boxing over and over, through the years. Guys win a championship, they're not as motivated, they come back not as in shape, and it's the end for them.
Yeah. No, it really is. That's conditioning is one of the, Marab, who's been on that incredible run at 135, that's one of his biggest weapons is his cardio. I mean, that guy can go all night, literally. So it's actually a weapon for him in his fights. He can pretty much sprint the whole fight, and you just can't keep up with him. There were a lot of knockouts, finishes in the prelims, so it was a card that went by pretty fast as well. Overall, it was a really good night. Jack Hermanson, he got knocked out pretty viciously by RoboCop in the prelim headline, and it was just a fun night of fights. All the fights lived up to it. The first fight of the night, Terrence McKinney got a quick finish. So overall, it was a really good night, really good card for the UFC. A lot of fans were buzzing about it, and it was something exciting to move forward. I mean, you look like Tapuria's coming out of there as a superstar. You got Joshua Van, who came out as a superstar. It was a really good night for the UFC.
What's coming up in the fight world in the next couple of weeks, Hanson?
July is stacked with boxing. We got all kinds of boxing coming up in July. I can't really think of all the cards off the top of my head right now, but there's probably one for every weekend coming up.
And we'll be talking about it the entire time. We will talk again on Thursday to preview this weekend. And Hanson, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you making a second day to do the podcast.
No problem at all. You know I enjoy it.
Love it every time. Thank you so much to Hanson for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. Sorry about my sound. I had my volume on way too loud and tried to bring down the levels artificially, and at times didn't sound great. Sorry about that. Still learning. And thank you so much for listening. Do us a huge favor and share the Central Indiana Sports Report with your friends and family, and even strangers and your enemies, if you would like to see us continue to grow and thrive. We humbly thank you in advance. Central Indiana Sports Report is brought to you by ITG Media, and I love Susie.